Hey everybody, Jonathan Hedderly here from Psych Cinema. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be giving a straight-up review of the new Danny Boyle, Richard Curtis film, Yesterday. I'm Jonathan Hedderly, a licensed professional counselor, and this is Psych Cinema. So let's dive right into the movie. Now imagine there is no Beatles. That is the starting premise of this film. The history of the Beatles catalog has been erased, and only one man on Earth, a struggling musician named Jack Malick, is the only one that remembers the music of the Beatles, and he passes it on as his own. That is the basic premise of this rom-comedy, and it's really quite charming. For those of you familiar with Danny Boyle, he's actually more familiar for more kind of cutting-edge films like 28 Days Later, 127 Hours, or the award-winning Slumdog Millionaire. Now, Richard Curtis, he's more known for more of the rom-com films like Notting Hill, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Love Actually, and recently About Time with Rachel McAdams. And that at first can seem like a little bit of a weird marriage of creativity, but I think overall this film is well shot and well acted, and it's got a lot of genuine laughs and a lot of heart. So let me just kind of talk a little bit about what I really liked about this film. First of all, it is charming. If you love the Beatles, you love their music, you love the emotion that it evokes, you're going to enjoy this film. I found it quite charming. I found the performances to be very pleasant. The characters are likable. And there's something to be said about decent people doing decent things and in the end feeling quite optimistic that they're going to end up with the right person. The film also presents, I think, one of the most poignant kind of scenarios for people that love music, love film, or other types of pop culture properties, which is this idea of getting to experience something you love for the first time again without that prior knowledge or experience. And the film does a good job of having a few scenes where you get to see these characters hear the music of the Beatles for the very first time. And what I think is the best scene of the whole film, Jack, played by Himesh Patel, he gets the opportunity to be an opening act for Ed Sheeran. And it becomes quite clear early on that his talent using the Beatles catalog far outweighs the talents of Mr. Sheeran. So Ed Sheeran challenges him to a songwriting contest. And basically, the song that Ed performs is quite charming in and of itself. But then you get to see Ed and the rest of the audience around him listen as Jack performs a solo piano version of The Long and Winding Road. Now, here's the thing. That is, I think, a wonderful Beatles song, but I've never really considered it to be one of their greatest songs. But the scene allows you to watch Ed Sheeran and others just take in the beauty and simplicity of that song performed by Himesh Patel. And it kind of reminds the audience that even some of the more underrated Beatles catalog can really wipe the floor of a lot of modern music or other popular music. That is how deep the Beatles catalog is. And it's a wonderful thing to even for me as a lover of pop culture, the idea of listening or hearing or watching something that I truly love deeply and getting to experience that newness or the first time all over again. It is quite mesmerizing. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what didn't work for me in this film. Because the film is quite charming and safe and likable, the reality is that it really lacks much tension. There's not a lot of bite to it. It's fairly predictable, except for the alternative reality scenario of a world without the Beatles, but the Beatles' music is remembered by Jack. And how they address or even resolve that I found to be thin and a bit underwhelming. I also liked most of the central casting, but over the course of the film, I started to find Kate McKinnon's performance as Deborah, Jack's manager, to kind of be grating, and it almost felt like the longer she played a one-note performance, the more it kind of felt like she was in the wrong film, and maybe she didn't get the overall message of the tone that they were trying to evoke. But other than that, this is a film that I think a lot of people are going to respond positively to, even if they may not classify it as technically a good film. It's competently made. There's a lot of heart. I think for the most part, though, you kind of have to suspend disbelief and turn off your brain and just go for the ride and the emotions of hearing Beatles song, having people fall in love with it all over again, watch a charming couple and a charming but predictable story play out to its logical conclusion. But I was never bored by it, and I had a lot of genuine laughs in it. So I would give Yesterday a solid B rating or grade. And I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. Were you swept away by the magic of the Beatles music, or did you see Yesterday more as a missed opportunity of a really creative setup that maybe you don't feel like they executed to its potential? So be sure to leave me your comments or feedback on Yesterday. And also be sure to check out my regular series of Psych Cinema, where I'll really dissect films and television from a psychological lens. And also check out the Shrink Tank podcast and shrinktank.com, where you're going to find other videos, articles, polls, and more that explore the rich intersection of pop culture and psychology. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. That way you're not going to miss out anytime we drop new content. Well, that's it for this episode, this special edition of Psych Cinema, more of a review than an analysis. But until next time, I'm Jonathan Hedderly, and we'll see you at the movies.